the stories. But what if one thing changed everything?
That doesn't sound ominous at all.
On August 11th, expect the unexpected.
It cannot be.
Let's be honest, we've been through weirder.
And ask yourself the question, what if?
It appears we have a common enemy.
I guess I have to freestyle then.
Reality. It's changeable.
Where you want to be? That's the question, isn't it?
Every universe is different. Each one unique.
Slow down a little bit. There's a few people in the room that don't understand. Not me, I get it.
Who are you?
The name's Captain Carter.
Scheisse! I am the Watcher. I observe all that transpires here. But I do not, cannot, will not interfere.
We have you outnumbered.
A Ravager never flies solo. I said never flies solo.
Is that some kind of catchphrase?
You had me worried for a second.
Journey to face the unknown and ponder the question. What if?
Welcome back, everyone. This is my new Marvel What If trailer video. There's a whole bunch of Easter eggs. Spider-Man becoming a version of Doctor Strange, the Cloak of Levitation there. It's Mr. Dr. Spider-Man to you. There's a whole bunch of Easter eggs here, so we'll break it all down. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the episodes. I will be doing videos for all the episodes. They're literally starting in a couple weeks. But if you were wondering, this isn't supposed to be Galactus. I think a lot of people immediately went to that just because of the shape of his head here, the silhouette. But it's actually Ultron after he's gone, final boss form Ultron with all 6 Infinity Stones, and after he's taken over Vision's body. So he becomes like a living Infinity Gauntlet with all 6 Infinity Stones embedded in his body. Like Darkest Timeline Ultron. But the whole thing here was Spider-Man becoming a version of Doctor Strange. He's wearing Doctor Strange's Cloak of Levitation from the MCU, like the Benedict Cumberbatch version of the Cloak of Levitation we've been seeing in all the Marvel movies so far. Everyone cue up the clips from Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
And it's a no on the cape.
I think it's cool.
Take that off. It's disrespectful. Spider-Man doesn't wear a cape.
I think this is a cape.
He does have a slightly different version of the original Stark tech suit from Captain America Civil War and Spider-Man Homecoming. Just because there are a few very, very minor differences, some people think that it's meant to be a version of the suit that he's wearing in that new Disneyland and Disney World Avengers Campus theme park. Because all the stuff that Marvel did at those theme parks incorporate designs from other time periods in the MCU. A really good example is the version of the Iron Man armor that you see if you go to those theme parks. It's actually the Iron Man Mark 80, and it's meant to be a version of his armor from between Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. Because if you remember, in Avengers Infinity War, his nanotech armor that he whips out was the Mark 50, but when we get to Avengers Endgame and we see him whip out his armor in that final battle, it's the Mark 85. So people are like, what happened to those 34 armors in that 5-year time jump? Where did they all go? But the whole thing with Spider-Man during the What If series, as far as we know, is that this Peter Parker, who looks just like a slightly older version of Tom Holland's Peter Parker in Spider-Man Far From Home, is being referred to on the series as Zombie Hunter Spider-Man. So it sounds like wherever the character is introduced in the Marvel What If multiverse timelines, he winds up being a bigger part of the Marvel Zombies episodes or multiple episodes. The big change from Marvel Comics' What If series is that they're actually doing a more serialized version of those stories for the TV show. The original comic book was just a series of one-offs, like you would see a What If story with Spider-Man, but then in the next issue they would go to a completely disconnected story with a different character, and it was all treated as if these were happening in alternate timelines. But it sounds like on the series, everything will be way more connected because you'll see the characters show up in one episode, then they'll continue on into the next episode as things sort of spin up as they put together this multiverse Avengers team. They're calling their team the Guardians of the Multiverse. But because the scenes that they're using to introduce them to sort of highlight their characters are big twists on classic Avengers scenes, it's sort of like they're combining the concept of the Guardians of the Galaxy with the Avengers and the idea of the multiverse after what happened with Loki and them spinning up into the true version of the Marvel MCU multiverse. It's not going to be quite as complicated as it seems. But it just sounds like this whole idea with Marvel Zombies and these characters going crazy, Avengers turning into zombies, it's not going to be like they do Marvel Zombies in one episode and then completely fix everything within 20 minutes. Like there'll be some storyline about how the Watcher, Captain Carter, the darker version of Doctor Strange start bringing the Multiverse Avengers team together across the episodes, and as events unfold, something happens that leads to Marvel Zombies. And Spider-Man just gets swept up in that fight. But as you can see, his Spider-Man symbol on his chest is fairly similar to MCU Tom Holland's Spider-Man symbol. The Stark Tech suit looks very similar. So even though Iron Man has what seems like a very different twist on his origin story involving Killmonger, at some point during that, Peter Parker seems like he'll have a similar origin story to MCU Tom Holland's Spider-Man, get involved with Tony Stark. Maybe they have a twist on the joke of the Stark Industries internship, and then he gets that version of the suit from Tony Stark. And as things spiral out of control, Marvel Zombies happen. And as for the whole Doctor Strange Cloak of Levitation twist, if you think about it this way, the main version of Doctor Strange on the What If series is meant to be a darker version of the character. It seems like just based on the toys here, the labels, they're calling him Doctor Strange Supreme. I'm assuming because during his origin story, when they introduce the character, he winds up taking the title of Sorcerer Supreme by force from the Ancient One, so he becomes Sorcerer Supreme in a slightly different way. Like it seems like he winds up fighting a less dark version of himself and also winds up fighting the Ancient One, so things just go completely off the rails during his origin story. The way the producers talked about him, he takes a quote-unquote darker path. I think he's meant to be more of an anti-hero version of the character. But as you could probably tell, he is being voiced by Benedict Cumberbatch. And his cloak seems very different from the regular Cloak of Levitation. The one that Spider-Man is wearing during this seems like the regular Cloak of Levitation that we've seen this whole time in the Marvel movies so far. But I'm assuming that Doctor Strange Supreme here just gives Spider-Man the Cloak of Levitation because he isn't using it, he doesn't need it. And there's some massive Marvel Zombies outbreak, like you see zombie Captain America fighting everyone here. There's also a zombie Iron Man wearing his armor from Avengers Infinity War, and it seems like a zombified version of Thanos' Black Order. Like this is Cull Obsidian behind him and what seems like Ebony Maw over here in the background too, all zombies. We also have a very big Spider-Man Doctor Strange team-up coming during Spider-Man No Way Home. I know people wondering about when the trailer's going to drop. More like Spider-Man No Way we're getting that trailer. I've already done a video about all the big new Spider-Man suit reveals because one of the suit he's wearing is a black suit. I know everybody's wondering when he's going to be wearing the symbiote. Not quite the black suit you were expecting. You see him wielding magical runes, like it's a Spider-Man suit enhanced with Doctor Strange's magic and spells, allowing Spider-Man to wield magic briefly during one or more of his fights with the Sinister Six villains. But as things start going out of control, looming over all this as things escalate, it seems like Ultron is a much bigger, badder threat in this storyline. Like these Stark Tech drones look like a similar version of the Hammer Tech drones from the events of Iron Man 2, and just like the Hammer Tech drones, they also seem like they go rogue and attack Wakanda. But because there's all this footage of Iron Man working together with Killmonger, what might be happening here, just based on the way they cut the footage, is the reason these drones go off the rails might be because Ultron just takes over their programming. And here's where the Marvel Zombies plot starts to connect with the Ultron Avengers Age of Ultron storyline. So we know that Spider-Man is Zombie Hunter Spider-Man. Well, if you watch this scene, he's actually trying to web up Scarlet Witch here, who seems like she's gone completely off the rails. So she might actually be Zombie Scarlet Witch. And they just introduce Ultron and Vision as part of this Age of Ultron storyline while this is all happening. Like in the process of gaining control of all 6 Infinity Stones and Vision's body, Ultron tries to attack Wakanda to take their vibranium, and then throughout this winds up inadvertently creating Marvel Zombies somehow. Also because Doctor Strange Supreme, the Dark Doctor Strange, seems like he goes completely off the rails, he might have something to do with the reason why the Avengers turn into zombies. But during all this footage of the attack on Wakanda, Killmonger seems like he's teaming up with Shuri, like she says, our goals are temporarily aligned, who seems like she's a little bit younger, maybe just because this is all happening a little bit earlier in the timeline. And also this might be on the same version of Earth where T'Challa was taken by Yondu as a child with the Ravagers to become Star-Lord T'Challa instead of growing up to become Black Panther. And Killmonger being here to help save Wakanda from Ultron might be how he becomes King of Wakanda and Black Panther. I believe they're calling him King Killmonger on the What If series. Like when they sell the toys, it'll say King Killmonger on the toys. Like after he starts wearing this version of the Black Panther costume. We get way more footage of Captain Carter fighting this giant tentacle creature, and it seems like just based on what's going on in the background here, this is taking place during the events of World War II because you see the Hydra banners behind her, and it might have something to do with Red Skull and Arnim Zola messing with the Tesseract and things just going off the rails. Like the Tesseract contains the Space Stone, so it opens portals across the universe, so maybe the Red Skull is messing with it and accidentally winds up allowing some creature from another world to come to Earth. But the other cool thing here that you may have noticed, she's fighting with a version of Captain America's shield painted to look like Captain Britain's shield because she is kind of like a version of Captain Britain during this. She was part of the British Army during the events of the first Captain America movie. And the sword she's wielding here might be Excalibur from Marvel Comics. Both Captain Britain and the Black Knight have wielded Excalibur in the Marvel Universe before. Now, the Black Knight's origin story flows from the King Arthur mythology of the Marvel Universe. We're going to see MCU Black Knight, who's Kit Harington during the Eternals movie. He'll get a version of his origin story during that. Maybe they also have a funny twist on the myth of pulling the sword from the stone when she becomes Captain Britain. Like she finds it sitting inside a stone when she's in the middle of a fight and then just winds up yanking it out. It's sort of like a twist on the idea of Thor's hammer. Let he who is worthy wield the power of Excalibur. Either way, if you spotted any other big Easter eggs during this footage that I didn't talk about in the video, just write it below in the comments. This is just the beginning. It'll get way weirder and way cooler with all this big multiverse storytelling that they're doing after the Loki series. Now you understand why we saw Loki episodes before we saw the What If episodes. Like, okay, here's your introduction to how the multiverse works. Now we're just gonna roll real hard on that. They also just released even more Shang-Chi trailer footage, so I'll do a video for that tomorrow. Make sure you have alerts enabled for my channel so you don't miss anything. Everyone click here for that other new Shang-Chi trailer and Easter eggs, and click here for my new Loki video about how Iron Man knew about what was going on with Kang inside the MCU. Thank you so much for watching, everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.